Hello, we're back on the Virus channel. This time for another interview with AViT.
Hi.
Hey. The first question for everyone is, what's your favorite fast food restaurant?
I'm like stuck between either Taco Bell or Popeyes.
They're very different.
To be honest, yeah, they are very different. I love tacos and I love Popeyes fried chicken. So, and I don't know which one to pick, to be honest.
What would you?
Because I love both of them equally.
What would be your Popeyes order?
Cause I live in like a relatively big household. We usually order like a 10 to 14 piece like chicken meal with like the two large fries and side of biscuits. You know.
You like the biscuits?
I don't know about that.
I remember I had it once. It was so dry. Like, it was so dry.
It is infamously known for being super dry.
Yeah. What about your Taco Bell order?
Oof. You know, like the tacos that have like the Dorito shells. I get like the combo meal with like, and I get like the steak meat on them, and then I get like a Baja Blast, like diet Baja Blast.
Nice. Okay, so I want to jump in straight away. So I feel like you have crazy vocal range. Like, was you in bands growing up, or have you had any vocal training or anything?
So I am a self-taught singer. I've been singing since middle school, and I've been in a couple bands like when I was in middle school. I was in a death metal band as a vocalist. I was like 13 and everyone else was like 18, 19. It was like kind of weird, especially since I was like, you know, the front man, basically. And I was in a couple post-hardcore and metalcore. And
what did your family think when you was like 13 in like a metal band? That's like pretty like crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of weird for them at first, and then gradually they just, I don't know, they kind of got used to it. I don't know, I suppose.
And where do you think you get most of your inspiration from when it comes to vocal?
I always say that my number one influence when it comes to vocals is Richard Rodgers from the band Secrets. Because that's how I basically learned how to sing, is like singing like that band's particular, in particular that band's like songs and all that. I also sing a lot of like Pierce the Veil and like Sleeping with Sirens, like Kellen Quinn, Vic, you know.
So when you was growing up, was that the type of stuff you was listening to?
Yeah, definitely.
And so before AViT became a thing, was you releasing songs? Because being in a band is different to like releasing songs on SoundCloud and stuff. Was you doing that under a different name before?
So after middle school, I didn't really make music again until like sophomore year, and that's when I started AViT. But the thing is that the AViT project started as I started off as like a lo-fi producer, so it wasn't like vocal oriented at all.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What how did that transition from being in metal bands to like lo-fi producing?
I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue. I was like 15, 16 at the time. I have no clue.
That's fair enough. And so growing up, what was it like for you being like you said, the 13-year-old in the metal? Because I can't imagine many 13-year-olds in your school was like in bands and stuff.
I was pretty much like the only person like that when I was in school. And Because of that, I got teased a lot, especially my singing. I got teased a lot for my singing, which is weird to hear, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of weird to hear now that I have like a sizable amount of people that listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got kind of insecure about it during my high school years, which is probably why I didn't really do vocals at all until like later during the AViT thing.
And so there was no students. Was there any other students that made any type of music, or was you like literally the only for your age anyway?
At least for SoundCloud, I was really like the only person. I had like maybe one or two people that I collaborated with, but really I was like the only one that kind of took it like seriously. Everyone else just kind of like they like made a song or two, and like as like a joke more or less. So they, you know.
And I want to talk about your new project. So, Lines of Death. How did that whole thing come about?
That's so basically, I was really disappointed with my first album, to be honest. Imperfect and Incomplete. It is, as the title suggests, it was just not a complete product at all, and I wasn't really satisfied with it. It was just super rushed, and I just wasn't particularly happy with how it turned out. So I wanted to, start fresh, and I wanted to try and take my sound in a kind of like different direction, but still kind of keep it familiar-ish with people, and kind of take it back to like what I really want to do with my music, I guess. That's why you see a lot of like more experimental sounds in the songs in that project. A lot of rock songs, kind of taking it back to when I was in like those like metalcore, post-hardcore bands and all that, and a little J-rock influence too.
Okay, what was the inspiration behind the title?
The title. So one of my favorite animes is Kara no Kyokai. And the protagonist, I don't know how to like simply explain it. Basically, she has these eyes that can see like lines and can basically kill anything, and she cuts through those lines just instantly. And I kind of use it as like a metaphor for like each of the tracks just kind of being like a sort of because the album's very like, it gets into very personal themes, especially like about like aspects of my life, and I see like each of those tracks being sort of like a like kind of like a weakness or like a weak point in my life,
I love
like,
I love that.
Lines of Death. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great meaning. And how long would you say it took to actually make the project?
I went through multiple iterations of the album. The Constrained EP was actually like, you could probably consider that like scraps from the album pretty much, because a lot of them were meant to be on the album but just sort of didn't fit with the overall sound of the project. I wanted it to be as concise as possible. It took about, let's say, maybe over a year.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn. Was there any point where you was like, because if you went through different versions, I can imagine you was like maybe getting frustrated with how it was turning out at some points? Was there any point where you was like, yeah, I'm just gonna scrap the whole thing?
There were moments like that for sure, but I just kind of kept persisting because I knew I had potential with some of the tracks that I already had while I was still making it. So to be able to finally have it out and have it all be more or less concise with each other is a really good feeling.
And that actually makes sense now, because my next question was, I was going to ask which you would say the single was. Would you say it was My Savior or Same Old Me?
Like the single, like the defining single?
Or I guess like the pre, because Same Old Me dropped last year, right?
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. So would you say when you dropped that, did you drop that thinking like this is gonna make the album, or did you just drop that to drop it?
At the time, I dropped it just to drop it, but then I sort of saw like a lot of people like really liked it, and I also really personally like the track because I think it's one of my best written songs, and I was just like, maybe I can sort of have a project where I sort of delve into these sort of sounds and like lyrical themes.
Yeah. And what would you say your favorite song is from the project?
I don't really have a particular like a singular like favorite track from the album. Some of my favorite tracks though have to be like Hate How You Stare, Same Old Me, In My Grasp, Lines of Death, maybe Poison, maybe.
And I feel like your songwriting is very concise. Like it doesn't seem like random. It seems like very, very thought out.
Yeah.
How long would you say it takes you particularly to write a song?
I think it really depends on how I'm feeling, to be honest, because I'll have one song where I will be like writing it for like maybe like a whole month. Then there's like another song where I'm like I just crunch it out in like one day. Maybe I crunch out a song and like crunch out like writing a song in like a week. It sort of all just depends on how I'm feeling. Because I don't want to make one song like I don't want to have them all like sort of talk about the same things. I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's I tend to like try and be as original as possible with each song that I write.
And does your songwriting come from, obviously you'll take inspirations from other things, but is it mainly like your own life? Is it movies or anime or video games?
Some lyrics I take from like Lilith, for example. That's heavily like inspired from like Evangelion, like the anime. A lot of my songs are very personal to me. I'll probably maybe put some anime or like video game influence. It's mostly just like my personal experiences.
And so this is your fourth project now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to other artists that are thinking about dropping one? So I'll be honest, a lot of these artists are scared to drop projects, honestly.
Who cares? Just drop it. I don't know. Why are you so scared? I mean, obviously, not many people. I mean, if your base is not as like big as like mine, it's kind of hard to convince like your small group of listeners to listen to like maybe like a 5-song project as much as like just like one singular song. But if you want to drop a project, fuck it, just drop.
Yeah, I agree. How long? So your first project was 3 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. That doesn't. Yeah, that would be the first public like project. Yeah, because I had other public projects before, but I privated them because they're kind of picky. So I guess
I guess going back to whichever first one you actually ever dropped on SoundCloud, how long was you releasing music for before you dropped that first project?
I think at that point I was a year or two into like the AViT project, and by that point I was already doing vocals. So
yeah, and you're 21 now.
21, yeah.
And you started the AViT project at what age?
15. So I've been AViT since for like 6 years. Is that 6?
Yeah. Nice. And before you dropped your first ever project, was you nervous before you dropped it, or was you just like, fuck it?
I mean, initially I was nervous, you know, just being like a new artist, just starting out like in like a relatively new project, relatively new project. But I think now it's way different. I just kind of like, I'm like, okay, let's go. We'll drop it, and then I'll have people listen. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And is there anything you regret doing when you first started out? Not necessarily to do with projects, but just in general with your music? Or is there anything you would have done differently looking back?
Not that I recall, to be honest. I mean, everything that I've done has sort of led me to this point, so I wouldn't really change much.
That's
I'm really
answer.
grateful for the position that I have.
And yeah, so I see you produce a lot. How does someone get an AViT beat?
So I have another alias. I have like a producer alias called Mika. And I have a track train there, so you can buy Mika beats over there. They're not like anything that I would ever like sing on, but they're there if someone wants to buy them, or if they want a custom. Like, as long as it's within reason. Don't ask me to like make like vaporwave beats. I don't make that. I don't know.
And who would you say your biggest influences are in terms of production?
Definitely Soma, Orchid, Dirtbag, like new Dirtbag, like under Simply Funk, because that's their new project that they're doing. Ollie XL, for the more experimental stuff that I sort of do sometimes. Yeah, I say those are my biggest like producing influences.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot right now, but would you be able to give me the top? You can do top 3 or top 5, but top 5 producers ever, or top 3.
Top 3 or 5 producers ever. It's so hard. It's so hard. Fuck.
But you can just give me one if it's just one. If you have one, you can narrow it down to.
I don't know. I like Rip Squad beats. I don't know.
That's fair answer.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Zangang's
fire.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This might be a stupid question. But I've always been interested in this. So you produce, obviously. And I know you have produced or co-produced songs of your own, but why not like prod all your songs? Or is that just too much hassle?
Yeah, I like other beats from other people. I mean, why
That's
not?
fair.
You know?
That's fair. Because someone told me recently, like, they like prod and do vocals, and there was like no one can like see their vision like they can. So there was like they had to learn to prod, and I was like, that kind of makes sense.
That's fair, but I mean, I don't like to limit myself. So
Yeah,
I used
true.
to limit myself. I used to solely just self prod and do vocals, and then I realized I kind of suck at prodding sometimes. So I sort of opened up to, you know, having other people produce and doing co-prods and all that.
It's probably a lot easier too, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so you have a show in New York on the 27th. Is that
Yes.
right? Have you performed before?
I have performed before, yeah.
And would you have any advice for anyone that's about to perform for the first time?
Have fun with it. It should always be fun. You like if you're like nervous, like just remember it's not it's not gonna define you forever.
Yeah,
if you have like a bad performance, it's not gonna define you. It's not gonna be like the end of your career unless you do something really heinous.
Yeah.
You know.
And how many times have you performed?
I'm trying to think. I'm gonna say 6, but I have no clue.
It's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount.
6, 7, I don't know.
Which was your favorite show you've done, would you say?
Definitely the one that I did in LA with Halcyon.
Oh, nice. I bet that was crazy, right?
Super crazy.
Yeah.
The biggest show I've ever done.
And, do you ever make songs specifically because you know they'll go hard, like when performing?
Sometimes. Sometimes. I can't lie.
Yeah, that's fair. Yes, I want to ask about New York. Have you visited there before?
I have once. I did it so I could just just chill with friends, to go around the city because I've never been. So this will be my second time next week that I'm going. So,
what was your opinions on it?
I love New York City. I feel so fucking comfortable there, and it makes it so much easier that I have like a whole bunch of friends there. So I feel way more comfortable there than I do living here because everyone that I knew sort of either I've because I don't have any like friends from like high school or anything. It's like cut them off.
Yeah, I feel it.
So the only friends that I really had around here were Quinn and Keegan, and they both moved. So
if you could move to any state, would it be New York?
100%.
Yeah. Do you prefer the East Coast to the West Coast?
I haven't been to the West Coast enough to like kind of determine that whether or not I prefer the East Coast or West Coast, but I will update you once I go to the West Coast a bit more.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to know the inspiration behind your name and why, and if there was any reason to capitalize everything but the I.
AViT more or less doesn't really mean anything to me now. Originally it's just the initials of like my dead name and my last names, and then V, the VI is a misspelling of my Vietnamese name because my Vietnamese name is Yi, but it's spelled like DUY. And for some reason I thought you spelled it like VI, which is really how you spell my sister's Vietnamese name, but it's not really how you spell my sister's Vietnamese name. It's also a misspelling of that. So yeah. And then I sort of took V as like my my new name, or my name now. So
nice. What are your opinions on collectives, and are you in any?
I don't really have anything opposed to collectives. I think it's good if you're into like doing a lot of collaborations and all that. Cause I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I used to be in Trial X12, and I left because I wasn't really doing that sort of music anymore. So I dipped. But I don't have anything. I don't have any ill will towards like any of the members. Like I still love all of them.
What's your opinions on signing to a label, and are you currently signed?
Signing to a label. I think if you can keep pretty much all of your creative control, and like you aren't forced into doing anything like fucking corporate as fuck like some of these other artists are doing, like I think it's perfectly fine. But unfortunately that's not really possible. A lot of majors are gonna make you do some very, very weird collaborations and all that may or may not fit within your like creative vision. And that's okay, because the majors are there to make money off of you. They're not they're not your friend.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm kind of, if I wanted to sign with the label, it'd be probably like an independent label or something, not with like a major. I'm not currently signed, obviously, so.
You don't have to say who, but have you had any offers from any labels?
No, I've had talks with maybe like a couple majors, maybe like one independent, but nothing really went far. So
yeah. And, what about management? Do you have any sort of management?
No, not currently.
Really?
I used to have a manager about a year back, and they quit managing altogether, and I've been kind of on my own since. So.
That's crazy.
And I'm still looking for a manager, so
I feel like I can usually like tell. I feel like I can usually tell when someone has like management, but I definitely would have thought you had management for sure. That's crazy.
For the album I did, because I did the album. I released the album under Love Shock Records, but that was obviously like I said, it's obviously just for the album. So.
Yeah,
it was sort of just like a temporary thing. I'm pretty much just managerless. So.
Okay, and the golden question that everyone loves: what's your opinions on hyperpop?
I don't care about it. I used to just be like, I used to be like a vitriolic hater of like the term and any like songs or music involved with it. But I'm a musician. I really should not care about any of that. So I'm just like, I don't care about it. Who cares?
Yeah. And what genre would you say you make?
Electronic, rock. I don't know. I kind of do a lot of things. I don't really think putting a genre on me is like the most useful thing, because I like to do a lot of things.
Would you be offended if someone said like AViT makes hyperpop?
I mean, if they're only familiar with like my hyperpop material, I mean, I wouldn't. I used to, like I said, I used to be like vitriolic and vile to whoever called me fucking hyperpop. But now I'm just like, okay, whatever. All right.
Yeah. And who are some of your favorite artists in the SoundCloud scene right now that you listen to?
Orchid, Simply Funk, Arid. I like Arid. Nova Stein.
Shout out Nova.
Yeah, shout out Nova. I love Nova. I like Victor. JC Knight. That's all I can think of right now.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you haven't worked with that you would like to?
If I did, I'd have to keep it a little hush hush, because I like to keep that a little secret, a little surprise.
That's fair. So you work with like a lot of people, to be honest, like big names in the scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're in September. So there's only a few months left of 2022. But what are your plans for the rest of 2022?
I've already finished a song, and I'm gonna drop one next month. So.
Was there any hesitation or like, how can I say, like, because you dropped the tape over a month ago, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, and was there any like, ooh, when should I drop next, or was you like, I have to get a song out in the next 2 months, or?
No, I didn't think about it. Once I dropped the album, I was just like, all right, finally, I can take like a good break for like a bit.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for any music videos or anything?
Gonna keep that hush hush. That's for next week.
That's fair. That's fair. And where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I'm not a sage. I'm not a prophet. I have no clue. It's just whatever the future holds. I'm down with it, I guess. So I mean,
that's a pretty good mentality, honestly.
Yeah.
And is there anything else you'd like to mention to tell people that maybe I didn't ask?
I'm trying to think. No, we're good.
Okay, so I have one last question.
Yep.
So I'll try and explain it the best I can. But you can travel to any moment in time. You can go 10 years back, 100 years back, 1,000 years back. You can go to last week if you want, or you can go to 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, so on. Where would you go to and why?
What's the Australian guy's name? Steve Irwin. I'd go back just at the moment where Steve Irwin was about to die, and I'd drag him the fuck away from that stingray that fucking killed him.
That's a great answer. That's a wholesome answer. I like that answer.
Hey man, he should have never died.
Shout out Steve Irwin.
No cap.
But yeah, I appreciate you for coming on, and
yep.
I'll be on the lookout for the new single. But yeah, I appreciate you.
Yep, appreciate you too. Thank you for having me on.